Hello, Unlimited Minds. I am so excited today in the studio. I have Lorena Belcher with me. She is an amazing woman who has done a lot of work with for women who are abused in abusive situations and violence against women. And I'm just going to hand it over to her. She will tell you all about her. Lorena, take it away.
Oh, thank you, Zara. Hello, everyone. It is an honor and a pleasure to be before you. And let me tell you some funny things and not so funny things about me. But just as a little introduction of just what I stand for, I can't believe that I've taught over 795 students in the past 25 years. I can't believe that I influenced all these families, let's say somewhere in the ballpark of 500 families of students with special needs. I can't believe it still blows me away. And I mean, it still blows me away that I have over a couple of thousand hours as an associate marriage and family therapist, working with women who have been in intimate partner violence and interpersonal violence,
Oh my
whether it's
goodness. Wow,
assault,
that's huge, huge.
yeah, sexual assault or domestic abuse or domestic violence. I can't believe that I'm the author of two books. Yes, girl, yes, you can. Affirmations to elevate your self talk. Uh, let's eliminate that chatter in the head. And Fly Girl, A Journey from Darkness to Daybreak, which chronicles my journey from darkness to daybreak. But what people didn't know, and what most people don't know, is I was in the middle of an abusive relationship. I had three daughters. What people didn't know is that my one of my daughters was saying, "Mommy, are we going to a hotel again? Mommy, are we going to be okay?" Yeah. What people didn't know is I was working full time as an educator, and I would have just gotten out of the car with an argument with my husband because he had my car, and then I had to get ready to serve children, second and first graders. Yeah. But there
Very
comes a
difficult.
time when when I realized that I deserve better. I deserve more. My children deserve more. And I decided I'm going to have to speak up for me. My voice was silenced, but I'm not going to be quiet anymore. I couldn't be quiet anymore. I could not just sit in insanity, questioning my own sanity. Is this really happening? Am I really being yelled at and screamed at? Am I really calling the police, which I was formerly a police officer for Los Angeles Police Department. Now I'm in Riverside County of California, and I'm calling for help. And so that was the day that I said, I'm worth more. I deserve more. I have to create a place for children to be safe, to be loved, to know they're valuable. I had to know I was valuable. And so that's how I ended up working with women who had been in domestic violence themselves. I became a therapist, and I decided to serve in the community with domestic violence shelters. I'm in the process now of working on an anthology to support women in shelters. I wrote my way out of the pain, Sarah.
Hmm. Oh my goodness. And you know what? You're talking about it, and I'm going back to my own history of abuse, where one day I had to stop and say, I can't do this anymore. And do I
Yeah.
really want to keep doing this for the next 10 years? Because it's not going to stop. So, how did you get out of this, Lorena? Like, what was What had to happen inside you in order for you to act to support yourself?
I had these conversations really, Zara, with myself. And I would say, I'd ask myself so many questions. Is this really the kind of relationship you want? Is this the type of relationship you deserve? You know that your value is greater than this. And you don't want to raise your children another generation of madness. And I realized that only I could save myself. No one was coming to rescue me. It was upon me to know my value. And when I knew my value, I stood up for myself and I gathered myself. And I said to myself, what's more important? Is it worth staying and pretending and having a representative? Or are you just going to have to leave and not worry about what people think? I left my job for teaching. I couldn't serve anyone else. I had to take care of myself. And yes, it was a stressful time. Yes, it was a difficult decision to draw down some of my retirement, Sarah, in order to leave. I
I
sold,
hear
sold
you.
the house.
I hear you. I think that making that pivotal decision, that's the first step. And it's
Yes,
not an easy step.
no,
So standing up for yourself and knowing that no one is going to rescue you, because I think we keep waiting. We keep waiting for someone else to show up and say, "Oh, let me help you get out of this." But you have to realize that the power to do so only is within you. No one else can do it for you.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. And that is why I just decided I have to go. I sought the support of an attorney, very close friends, um, realizing that even being very calm in a situation,
Mm-hmm.
working through it to a point, Sarah, where my daughter, my youngest daughter was sick. And
Mm.
so I decided I was going to stay home with her. So I told my husband at the time that I was going to stay home with her because she was sick. And I knew he would be leaving for work. But mind you, all the time, I had a change of clothes to go to court
Mm.
in a trash can, in a bag.
Ah, oh my
And I took
goodness.
it downstairs to the car in the garage very inconspicuously and put my court clothes there. I had already arranged for a neighbor to watch my daughter. So that day I was able to get an order of removal from the home. And that was the beginning of peace, peace. And that's what I deserved. And it was a uphill climb. It was
I
an
can
uphill.
imagine. I can just imagine your fear in hiding your clothes and taking that first step. That takes so much strength.
Yeah. My faith, and it was my resolve, actually, Sarah. It was my resolve. It's like when we have a resolve to know that we're better than this, you know,
Yes.
we're better than
Yes.
this.
Yes.
I have allowed myself to not be the best me, and that's no longer acceptable.
Mhm.
And I'm sure, we have all allowed someone to belittle us. We've allowed someone to put us in a box. We've allowed someone to take our voice away.
I think we give up our identity as who we
Totally,
are.
totally,
We give up that identity and we we define ourselves by all the things that other people want from us.
hmm,
You're a wife, you're a mother, you're a teacher, you're a this, you're a that, you're a daughter and a sister and a friend and yada yada yada. And in all of that, you lose yourself and you don't
completely,
even realize that that's what you've done.
completely. I didn't even know who I was. I was like, who is this in the mirror? When I looked in the mirror,
Yeah,
I was like, this is where you are? What has, is this what you want to live? Is this how you want to live?
exactly.
How you want I have all daughters. Is this how you want your daughters to live their life?
Oh, you remind me of the day when I did exactly that. I looked in the mirror And I was like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So then tell me what happened. How did you change this? And I know you are a successful entrepreneur now and you do so much good work in the community. What had to happen for you to figure things out?
I had to change my thoughts first, Sarah. I
Mm,
had to think more highly of myself. I had to value myself. And then I had to come up with a plan to say, yes, this is challenging. Yes, this is hard. However, I had to go back and collect some evidence on, wait a minute, you went to college, you know, you have a job, you can secure money, you can ways, you have talents. So I didn't want to get stuck in the, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't think I can. No, there's a way to do this. So I ended up taking the money from my retirement, physically separating from my husband. I had to move back home. Before I moved home, I moved to the house that I bought, that I'm actually in right now. I moved into this house just, it was a friend's home and it was just a place to escape. I was able to get all of my furniture and all those things and store them in this garage in this house. We started school, started my children with school. Things were still tough, Sarah. I remember I didn't have my car at the time. I gave up everything, Sarah. I gave up everything and just walked away. I was
mm-hmm,
able to sell the home, so I didn't go into foreclosure, but I was willing to do that if it had to be.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I ended up staying here for a few months, moved back home to my mom in LA, in Los Angeles, started from the bottom, started subbing. Then I got a contract again. So I started back teaching, putting away money, loving on my girls. We went into therapy, all of us as a family,
Mm,
and myself
right.
as a mother.
So what I'm hearing is that instead of making yourself miserable by thinking about things that you did not have control over, what I'm hearing is that you put your focus, your attention, and your action behind those things that you could control. And
Yes,
you didn't care if you were starting at the bottom as long as you had peace in your heart.
that was worth more than that was worth more than gold at the time.
Ah,
Because I know
yes,
money is a conduit, it's a fluid, it's energy,
yes,
and I could recoup. I just knew
yes.
that that's not what's most important. I
Hmm.
will survive, and that was what my mantra was. I'm a survivor. I'm a
Right,
thriver.
right, right.
Yeah.
So then, how did you establish yourself as someone who is there to support people who are women predominantly who are going through um, partner abuse?
Well, it started with actually a layoff from education back in the early 2000s. There was a layoff because I didn't have enough tenure at the time
Right.
because I had left. So I'd lost my seniority. Uh, and so I went back to school for a master's in psychology, and I went to a marriage and family therapy program, and I loved it. And I learned about myself, my family of origin, just how people think, how we how we navigate in the world, our experiences, our families of origin, culture. All of those things have such a huge play in the way we move through life. And I just said, I'm going to serve the women because I don't want anyone to stay as long as I did and to be in a situation as long as I was. If I can help you speed up the process, I will. I started
Mhm.
speaking at local shelters. I volunteered as Voices Over Violence at Peace Over Violence in Los Angeles, where I had my internship. And so I would go through and take the volunteer speaking assignments, the volunteer um, engagement with the community to empower women,
Amazing.
take
So,
back the community with one of the local universities, Loyola, St. Mary's. They had to take back the night for the young women
okay.
who had been sexually assaulted, and it gave them a voice,
Mm.
an opportunity to speak. So yeah.
You said something there. You said, I want to prevent people from staying too long, staying as long as I did. How does one know when it's time to leave? Because I think that's one of the most confusing things. You keep
Yes,
thinking it's going to get better. You keep thinking, you keep praying, you keep looking for
yes.
ways to change things. And how do you know when it's time to leave?
I realized it was time to leave when people only change if they think that they need to change. I can't
Mm,
change. I couldn't change him. I couldn't wish it to be better. I couldn't pray it to be better if he was not in alignment, if we were not on one page or one accord. And I realized he doesn't feel that there is anything wrong. And it was up to me. And I also said, I prayed, and I know God wouldn't want me in an unhealthy, unsafe relationship. That isn't the
mm,
will of God for any of us. That
mm,
is that isn't what I want my children to grow up with. And I just said, that's it. When
right.
she said we going to another hotel again,
Yes.
that was it.
How old was she?
Oh, she was seven, seven.
Oh my goodness, for a 7-year-old to ask that question, that is
Yes,
heartbreaking.
yes.
So, when you get together with women, what are the signs that you tell them they should become aware of so that they can make this decision, very difficult decision?
I became aware that it became so very controlling. You needed to know where I was at all times. And I was like, you know where I am at work. What are you talking about? And I guess it's very slow. I will say it's very slow and insidious, the cycle of violence, period, and the predatory signs. They tend to pretend that someone's, in my instance, my husband gambled. So he said that someone was going to hurt him if he didn't pay a loan or something. And for a minute, I fell for that. And then it was like, nah, they're going to have to break a leg, buddy. I can't. I'm not. And there was no physical violence, but the mental, the emotional cycles of questioning my own sanity. I said, I'm not imagining this. This is really happening. It is time for me to see that, okay, you're manipulative, you tend to be controlling, uh, you want to control money, you want to control where I'm going. You people might tend to isolate you, and many things happened when we
Yes,
moved away from my family.
that's right.
So the
Yeah,
isolation, the cutting you off of your
yeah,
friend, and you cut yourself off because you're
yeah,
you're in such disbelief that you're in this lifestyle.
yeah. You don't want anyone to know what's going on. Yeah,
You would be like, if they knew this, they would think I was crazy. And I kept saying, am I the one who's crazy? And I said, no, you're not crazy. You just need help.
right. And
You need
acknowledging that we need help, that's a
help.
huge one because it's like airing your dirty laundry, which a lot of us we are taught not to do. Like
Mhm.
don't go and tell people all these bad things are happening because somehow that makes you smaller or that
Yes.
makes you, it's insulting in some way to do that.
Humiliating,
It's
shaming,
humid.
all of
Yes,
that.
exactly, exactly. That's right. So how did you and how do you teach other women to deal with this sort of a situation? What is the first step
Um,
towards recovery?
the first step I say is making a decision.
Mm,
Making a decision that you are worth it, and it doesn't take anything away from your feelings from your partner. It doesn't mean that you may even stop loving him or her, or whatever the situation. Whoever your partner is, you may not stop caring, but you have to go to the front of the line. You have to put yourself first. If you have children, you have to know that the residual is just yet to come,
hmm,
the fallout. And to know that you just deserve better. When you decide and know that you deserve better than this, you begin to say, well, how can I make moves? I mean, if it's a financial issue, then start putting money away, take it somewhere else, someplace safe. If you are in danger, just leave, leave, walk away. I also admonish and advise women to have an emergency bag. I always had one in the car with a change of clothes for myself, the girls for work, whatever. I always had an emergency bag packed. This was well before so much internet, but at this date and time, I would be very mindful of how I use the internet and my phone and those types of things. I would even come up with some type of code word to someone else outside of the family situation to know that either you're coming or that it's unsafe, and maybe even they need to call the police. So there's just so many variables, Zara, so many variables.
And every situation is different. But
Yes,
I'm imagining that if it is come to a point where you have a bag in the car, that in itself is a signal that, this is beyond your
mhm,
power to control or fix
yes,
when it comes to
yes,
that point.
yeah. And I couldn't control him. I couldn't even
Right,
control myself
right,
because that was the first thing I realized.
right,
You're not even taking control of yourself, and that's
right,
first. You have to
right,
take control of your own life right now.
right, right. So once someone comes out of this situation, and let's say the decision, and that was something really important you said, you have to make a decision and then not look back. And I think that that's what prevents people from leaving, is that they keep making a decision and then changing it, making a
That
decision and
happened
then
to me
changing
as
it.
well, Sarah. That happened to me as well. I left 4 times, maybe five. Statistics say if a woman survives, she's likely left up to 7 times before that's the last time. And that is why it's a sense of urgency to me to work with women and men in this situation, because you may not get to that many times. We don't know what the tipping point is for someone else once they realize, oh, you really are leaving. And not to really, not to even say anything to your partner. You're going to have to really maneuver in silence.
What's the hard part about this is that everyone starts with falling in love and starting a dream together. And then the hard part is what happened? Like, how did I choose wrong? Like, what? And you beat up on yourself and you
Yeah,
keep, right? So, how that, I think that's the hardest part, is that you think that there was something you did wrong that you shouldn't have done.
exactly. I realized that I asked myself the question, Sarah, instead of just beating up on myself, berating myself, and because that was tearing my self-esteem down and putting it further lower. I asked myself, well, where were you? Where were you emotionally when you met this person? And therapy supported that, because I realized, yes, I was functioning, but my esteem level was not the greatest in my relationship experiences. I didn't have enough evidence to marry. Maybe this person was great to date, but I hadn't given it enough time to see is what do I want in a partner? I didn't even know. I just wanted to be married. And I thought this was this
Ah,
fantasy that, I didn't take the time to look at what is a good partner? What's a healthy relationship?
you
What am
know,
I bringing to the table?
I love you said that you said that, because one of the things that I ask women when I'm coaching them is I ask them, did you marry the man or did you marry the marriage? Like,
Yes,
because
yes,
a lot of times we're just in this headspace where we just want that, to be married, to have
yes,
that ring on your finger, to start a family, and you're
yes,
just, you're in that place where you want that and you ignore so many signals about the man that are wrong,
yes, because
right?
the signals are there. The
The signals are
signals are
there.
the red flags, the
Yeah,
stop signs. I
yeah.
ran so many stop signs there, and then I said, wait a minute, wait a minute. The writing is on the wall. Start looking back at things and see how they escalated.
Hmm.
Because I was a police officer, there was a time that his proximity was too close for me, Sarah. And so I grabbed a finger and click. I heard the joint click. and he backed up for me. And I just stood my ground. And so, I don't admonish women to fight someone, those things. It's just that I did have the training. And then
Right.
it just came to me. It came back to me and said, wait a minute, this is like someone on the street. This is not someone who is
Mm,
caring for you. It's you need to protect yourself.
mm, mm.
And he really kept his distance from that point on.
So tell me, how do you help people? What is part of that helping? What does it look like?
So, as a result of my transformational coaching and whatnot, I help single working professional moms right now navigate through their own general sexual trauma or intimate partner violence, abuse, and their daughters. Because I have daughters,
Mm,
and the
mm.
daughters that the generational trauma of finding out that my
Ah,
daughter
yeah.
abused as a teenager. And so I support women in navigating and coping and still living a life that they want, living a life by design, creating a life that they love, and not losing themselves in the process.
Right, right.
So, yeah, I coach women to the best self, to find your best self, to discover who you are. I created the affirmation book in 5 areas: identity, self awareness, wellness, finances, relationships. And I find those key areas. That's life. That
That's life.
encompasses
Yes,
our entire life. And
absolutely.
if we are steadily clearing and just mindfully looking at ourselves, observing where are we, taking notes and saying, okay, I'm ready to go to the next level. I'm ready to go to the next level.
Yes.
Who am I? It's, yeah, who are you?
Big question.
Yeah,
So I'm curious about something before I ask you more about your books.
sure.
I'm curious. You trained as a therapist and you coach. So, what is the difference between therapy and coaching?
I love that question. Yes. And it's interesting because there are some who have ideas and they have coaching programs that believe that, it's you can coach someone. I think if you have a robust coaching program, I'm not belittling one, and there isn't a 6-week program that can get you through. How about someone with suicidal ideation? Are you able to navigate that? Do you know what to do? Are you aware of the signs? So I'm clinically trained to know and to quote unquote diagnose, but I didn't like that box that I was put in. I wanted more flexibility. And then I had my own stuff going on that I said, I don't have enough in the cup. The saucer is nothing to give. I can't give anymore. And so with coaching, the difference is you are supporting the transformation for themselves. You're like a guide on the side. You are not solving problems. Not that in therapy you solve, but there's more teaching, there's more information. You may have to lead them a little more depending on what's going on. But the client is still in charge of their lives.
And I think one of the things that I find is that whether it's therapy or it's coaching, if you don't take what you're learning and put it into action, nothing
Yes,
changes.
nothing changes
So
unless
at
we
the
change.
yeah, so at the end of the day, it's the person, not the therapist, not the coach. It's
Hmm.
the individual who is really in charge,
Right, right.
right?
It is, and
Yes.
it depends on, some things work for others. I've experienced both. I've had a coach, I've had
Mm-hmm.
a therapist. I have a master coach right now, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
coaching, but I have a coach too because I think it's valuable to work through my own stuff.
Yes.
Because I say that, as I embark upon even dating again, Sarah,
Yeah.
that no longer are either of us carrying a 5-piece luggage set in this relationship. We're dragging everything with us. We have to let it go. If you
I
haven't
love
worked
how
through your past, I can't. I can't.
yeah.
Everybody can come with a backpack, Sarah. And
Yes.
even every now and then, okay, let's take the backpack off. Let's purge.
Yes.
Not to just
Yes.
keep collecting and it starts
Yes.
to weigh us down
Oh,
again.
yes. 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 And then it affects your level of happiness. It affects how you see things.
Completely,
Everything.
completely.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
If I could admonish women to read, to get knowledge from multiple sources, open your mindset. An open
Right.
mindset, a growth mindset will set you free in so many
Right.
ways. And it
Yes.
doesn't mean you're
Absolutely.
throwing away things that you used to value. It just means you are opening yourself up to new.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love it. So you mentioned this book of affirmations, and I absolutely love affirmations. So first tell us why are affirmations important, and then tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay. In the beginning of the book, I talk about, well, what are affirmations and why are we even saying these things? And I believe that we speak our lives. The language we use towards ourselves is most powerful.
Right.
It isn't someone else saying, oh, Sarah, you're just this, and you don't believe it about yourself.
Yes.
So it's what I think about myself, what I say to myself, what I begin to believe about myself is what's going to turn the direction or, make a move forward. Because
Right.
as we speak positive words to ourselves, it
Right.
positions us to start taking action. It's
Mm.
necessary to, because the affirmations alone mean absolutely nothing if you don't believe it and
True.
you don't
Very
move
true.
forward. And
Yes.
that's another thing, creating and developing affirmations that are within your belief system.
Ah.
Because we likely, who those of us who've been involved in any type of intimate partner violence, we've had a limiting belief system. And
Mm.
so it has to, we have to shed some of those old beliefs about money, about people, about ourselves, about everything. And so as we begin to affirm ourselves in these areas, there's an opportunity for growth. It's not a magic trick. There's no quick fix,
No. No
but it's
magic wand.
consistency. It's
No
consistency.
sprinkle fairy dust.
No sprinkle fairy dust, because, and I'm not saying don't acknowledge your feelings.
Yes.
Use your feelings as information.
Right.
In the process of affirmations, I talk about the journaling process
Right.
and how journaling can support you in defining who you are and where you want to be, casting a vision for yourself.
So you said something really important there. You said something about beliefs. You have to change your beliefs. Why do we have to change our beliefs, Lorena?
That is the utmost. Even if you write an affirmation and say it, if you don't believe it, it's trash, it's garbage, because your subconscious is like, are you kidding? We've never done that. What are you
Yeah.
doing? That's never been us.
Mm-hmm.
And to open up, it's like a flower opening. If we allow ourselves to believe, and that's building capacity within ourselves. So our
Mm.
capacity for growth, our capacity for more. And I don't mean more stuff. We're not just in the business of collecting things or people, but in growing as a human. I None of us, in my opinion, should be the same person we were last year.
Yes. Or
And in
last
order
week.
for last week, in order for growth to take place there, I have to say, whoa, what is my true belief about that? What is my true belief about
Right.
relationships? What's my true belief about money? What are my beliefs about my culture? What are my beliefs about my gender? So those can be very limiting unless we work through them. And that's why we have coaches and therapists and everything. So
When you say they can be limiting, what does that limit look like?
that limit looks like, I'm not going to make it. I won't be able to do this without him. I
Mm.
don't think I can leave. I don't have enough money. I don't
Mm.
have enough education. I don't seek it out. And that's where your belief about, I will make it somehow. And when you do that, the world opens up. All the solutions begin to appear. They come before you when you start speaking, I'm going to get out of this. I don't know how, I don't have to know how, but I'm getting out of this. But that's a made up mind, a determined mind, and
Right.
you believe it.
Right.
You believe it. So
Right.
it's levels of belief,
Levels of
baby
belief.
steps if necessary.
Levels of belief. Would you say that they mirror levels of success?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And a perfect example of that would be that once I left and got myself financially back on ground, staying with my mama, I was determined to get a house again. I had
Right.
bought a house before and said, no, wait, you did it before, you can do it again.
Okay.
And, so I collected the evidence with myself and said, look at where you've come from. I was able to buy a car again in that
How
time.
long did it take?
Oh gosh, let's see. Maybe a couple, maybe not even a couple of years, maybe a year, if that. Actually, Zara, I got a car online. I decided I wanted a Chrysler PT Cruiser, and I was just surfing the net and just saying, well, let me look at the dealers. And I started chatting with someone and told them what I did. But you know what? I believe somehow I deserved it and I could get it. This man told me, Lorena, can you write me a post-dated check for $100?
Okay.
And you can come and pick up the cruiser.
What?
He's like, I know you just started back teaching again, but I know, this is an industry you're staying in. This is stable income for you. So yes, it was a what? Nobody believes that. $100
I mean,
post-dated check.
that, if anything, is a law of attraction story right there.
Yes,
You
it is. It
manifested that.
totally. I was
Yeah.
adamant. And so the same
Yeah.
thing happened with my house.
How
I
did you
just
do that? How long till you got the house? How many years did it take?
it took about, let's see, that was 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8. That took a while, guys, because I
Oh, of
needed to
course.
have a
It's a house.
good
Yes.
long track record
Yeah.
of my credit had to come back up. My credit had gone to the toilet and
Oh,
it
yes.
got
Mine
back up.
too.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I didn't care. I was worth more than a credit score. My family was worth
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
knew I could get it back up. So about, oh gosh, 5 or 6 years,
That's
I paid
nothing.
off
I
the
mean, come
car.
on. Look at you. In 5 years, you bought a house. Like, I know people whose life goes by and they don't do that. So
Yes.
hats off to you. Well done. 5 years is nothing.
Well, actually, no, I'm counting now. No, Zara, it was more. It was 8, 8 or 9 years.
Oh, come on, Lorena. Even 8 or 9 years is
Yeah.
nothing.
And
Really.
I was raising my children in that time, and I
Three
wanted them
girls.
to have
Yeah.
a quality of life,
Yeah.
not just a house, but I wanted them to have a quality of life. So I got them involved in, organizations, after school stuff, everything, track. So that took up time and money, and I just kept putting money aside,
Mm,
paying off bills. And then I didn't realize I didn't have anything but a car. That's it. And then I done with the car. And so that was like, what? So that was
amazing. What a beautiful story. So, what is some advice you want to leave our listeners with? What are some of the things that you would say to every woman, not just a woman
just every
experiencing abuse
woman,
or
value yourself. You have value. We have value. And to find your identity in yourself, find value in yourself, not look for your value outside of yourself, not look for other people to fill you, fill your own cup. Love yourself. That self love is not just cliche.
Mm,
It's self care. It is knowing when to say no. It's create boundaries, not to keep people away, but to protect yourself so
mm.
that you can stay connected to yourself. Take yourself out on a date. Know what you like.
I love that. Take
You
yourself
know,
out on a date.
I go on
Absolutely.
date nights with myself or date days, and you know, I go to the movies. I may go get a meal. Treat yourself to high quality foods. That's self care.
Love it.
Love your body. Move it.
Beautiful. Love
Thank
it.
my body every day, Sarah, that it got me through the worst days.
Yes. Yes.
And I ignored her. I truly ignored her. But being mindful, find value in yourself, love yourself, be authentic, be true to yourself. create a people, a circle of influence that is meaningful. And if that means shedding some things from the past, so be it. There may be an expiration date on some people. So, and it doesn't mean that they're dead. It just means that you have to surround yourself with people who are uplifting and going in the same direction.
I love
It
that. An
doesn't mean all this
expiration
money
date
all the
of,
time,
yeah.
but you can attract that too. I believe that I'm going to attract more and more because I believe I can.
I believe you can too. You're a powerful woman. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom here today. Where do people find you? How can they follow you, find you, interact with
I'm
you?
on Instagram at H.E.R.story Reimagined, and that is my coaching company's name. And it's a play on history. So for on Instagram, it's H period, E period, R period, story reimagined all together. And it
Okay.
stands for heal, emerge, recreate.
Ooh, I love that.
Recreate the life that you deserve and love. Recreate a new narrative. And on Facebook, it's Lorena Belcher, my personal page, and then my business page is Her Story Reimagined, and it's capital H.E.R.story
Amazing.
Reimagined.
And we'll also have all those links in the show notes. Thank you
Yes,
so much again, Lorena, for being
you're
here
welcome.
and sharing all your wisdom and
You're welcome.
really sharing your story. It takes a lot to be vulnerable, to share the journey that you've been through. So
Thank you.
I honor you for that. Thank you
You.
so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor as well.